Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So, Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can enrich ourselves a little bit more by bathing in the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam Puran. Of course, we're just doing an overview, but even doing an overview is actually very nectarian, just to understand some of the principles, some of the characters in this incredible Purana. So we are at chapter 21. Yesterday we were talking about Prithu Maharaj and the sacrifice and the 100th sacrifice that he was doing, and Indra came and stole the horse rather, and at the same time there was this
and Prithusan caught and Prithusan fight with Indra.
Right. And then Indra disguised himself as a sage, and then that's where all these false sannyasis come from. And especially in Kali Yuga, we see so many of them. And then the Lord Vishnu came, or Lord Brahma came and said, don't worry about Indra. Lord Vishnu came and said, don't need to do Brahma said, don't have to do the 99th sacrifice. You'll be more famous.
Because when we kill the horse, it will get a spiritual body. That's why Indra took.
Not a spiritual body.
Human body.
Yeah, he gets a human body. Is that okay, Ariansh? You understand that? When the horse sacrifice is done, but it has to also be done according to qualified Brahmins. Not just any person can do that. Qualified Brahmins who understand the Vedic traditions, the Vedic mantras, and they themselves are practicing very strictly the rules of Sanatana Dharma. Otherwise,
excuse me, Prabhuji.
Actually, Rianch, you should always put your hand up or something like that. Then we'll know, okay? Shouldn't disturb in the middle, okay? Is that okay? Rianch? Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Prabhuji, can I tell something?
But when you do, you need to let us know before you do. So when we have we have an appropriate time, you can do. Yeah? You can't just speak out. You'll have to learn this etiquette slowly, okay? You can, on your computer, you have the hand raise, right? You know how to do the hand raise? Raised hand?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So do that, okay? And then when we stop at a convenient time, you can speak at that time. Okay, go ahead. What do you say?
But Prabhuji, most of them say that when we kill the thought during that sacrifice, most of them tell that it will get the spiritual body.
No. Where's that written? It's not...
in Daksha story also.
No, it's not
killed.
It's not a spiritual body. It's not so easy to get a spiritual body. To get a spiritual body, you have to do devotional service. And generally speaking, it's only in the human form. I mean, there are some exceptions like the elephant Gajendra, but generally speaking, you can only do bhakti in the human form of life. But as I said, there are some exceptions. Anyway, we need to move along. So what happened? The yagya finished. Prithu agreed not to fight with Indra. He forgave him, and everybody was very pleased. So now we're into chapter 21, and this is text number 37. No, not this one. It's the next one.
Majatu teja prabhavan mahari dibis titikshaya tapasa vidaya cha dedipaya mane jita devataman kule swayam raja kula dijanam.
The Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of tolerance, penance, knowledge, and education. By dint of all these spiritual assets, Vaishnavas are more powerful than royalty. In this, it is therefore advised that the princely order not exhibit its material prowess before these two communities and should avoid offending them.
Good. So, see the power of the Vaishnavas. This is Prithu Maharaj is actually advising his citizens, and we'll see this in a few minutes. So this is 21 is instructions by Prithu Maharaj, and he returns back to the city. He's greeted in the city by his citizens, and they're so happy to see him again, and they decorate the city with many auspicious items. Mantras are being chanted by the Brahmins, prayers filling the air. But he is completely unaffected by all this ceremony for his welcome. He's very calm and no false pride. He did not become proud. He blessed the citizens, for he has the accumulation of all success in his attainment of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was already a liberated personality. He's Shaktavesha avatar anyway. His qualities, Vidhur wanted to hear more about Prithu Maharaj. He was so engrossed in what Maitreya Rishi was saying, and he asked him, please tell me more about this amazing person. Prithu ruled, so then Maitreya spoke. He ruled the entire world, and only the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas were exempt from following his commands. As he also began a great sacrifice, another sacrifice. And in that sacrifice, he really shone. His very attractive bodily features were revealed with all the auspicious signs in his bodily construction, showing that he's a great personality. And if you recall, when he first appeared, Lord Brahma came on the scene, and Lord Brahma showed the auspicious signs on his hands and his feet. King Prithu addresses the citizens whilst doing this yagya. Okay. And explains that as the king, he represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And of course, this is what Vena also said to the Brahmanas, although he was a nasty king and the Brahmanas were really offended by his comments. But King Prithu was the ideal king. His duty as king is to lead the citizens in performing their varnashram activities for the pleasure of the Lord. And he asked them for their support in this endeavor. Why varnashram? Varnashram is basically the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and then you got the sannyasi, vanaprastha, grahastha, and brahmachari. If we don't have those 8 orders in place for varnashram, then society is very difficult to run. So the way Krishna has organized the system is through this varnashram. And one doing their duty through varnashram is not necessarily doing bhakti yoga, but is fulfilling the duties of a citizen in accordance with how a society should be run. And that's how society functions nicely. So that's what King Prithu was asking them to do. Please cooperate so that this varnashram system works nicely in our society, functions well. Stating that those citizens who cooperate will be elevated with him to whatever destination he will achieve. So this is the power of the righteous king. After he passes away, the citizens will go with him if they have cooperated with the king. So this is really that has to be a very powerful king, of course, which Prithu is. Then he explains devotional service to the citizens, the potency of it, how it cleanses the dirt in the mind for innumerable births. Devotional service should be performed with the body, mind, and words, with full confidence and without reservation. So sometimes we get mocked, perhaps by our family. Oh, Bhakt ban gaya, Bhakt ban gaya. You become now a devotee. You want to forsake anything. And I think somebody says that, sometimes we feel this little bit, not insulting, but we feel a little bit perhaps undermined, or, it's like a mocking comment. But actually, it's not. We should act with full confidence, because what we're doing, trying to become bhakts, actually is the highest possible endeavor in this world and in the next world and in the spiritual world. So we should endeavor with great confidence. He thanks the citizens for helping him in his service to Krishna by their execution of occupational duties. So that occupational duty is karma. So this is offering karma, which is bhakti mishra. You sort of mixture of bhakti and karma to the Lord. One gets gyan, so we get knowledge, and then we can do bhakti with gyan. That's again mixed gyan mishra bhakti, by which one attains the Lord. However, the appearance of gyan, knowledge, and the resultant attainment of the Lord depends on the amount of bhakti and the faith that we have in offering these karmas. So bhakti is very, very central. So whatever acts we are doing, according to our occupation, we can offer that to the Lord in bhakti, and accordingly we'll get the reward. Whatever gyan we're getting through offering our occupational duties to the Lord, again, depending on how much bhakti we have, we're offering that gyan back to the Lord, and we will accordingly get rewarded by the Supreme Lord and attain the Supreme Lord. So with Gyan and Karma, these are Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, we've heard those terms. Bhakti Yoga is very central to the performance of Gyan and Karma Yoga. So without Bhakti Yoga, you don't get anywhere. Prithu establishes the glories of Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. So Prithu described how the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas are more powerful than royalty. That was the verse that we read. The Supreme Lord himself became famous by worshipping them. This is really interesting comment. Supreme Lord himself becomes famous by worshipping them, especially Krishna. He worshipped Govardhan, or he got the Brijvasis to worship Govardhan. And then he became so famous, Giriraj. Anyone who worships them and their descendants, that's the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, pleases the Lord and all the devatas. Prithu requested their blessings, that he requested the blessings from the citizens, that he might please the Vaishnavas and the Brahmins, along with the Supreme Lord and Gomata. So then King Prithu hears from the demigods, the sages, the citizens, who all express their goodwill towards him. The sages state that his father Vena has now been delivered because the son is so good, and they bless Prithu for spiritual success. The citizens thank him for being a perfect representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's the end of chapter 21. Any questions, any comments? Yes,
Hare
Rian.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Maji.
Indra, he tried to steal the horse a few times, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3 times, right?
Three times, but it said perhaps even more, because every time he stole it, he adopted a new sannyas dress.
Yes, in disguise.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji, a quick question for Ramayana class tomorrow. I don't think that I'll be able to complete in one day. Can I split it? Because next Saturday, the following class.
Yeah, we can do consecutive Saturdays.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
No problem. Yes, Rianj, good. That's good.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
Maitreya is explaining to Vidura nice nice stories.
Yeah, he is.
Like that you are also explaining nice stories.
Sorry?
Like you are also
Well,
explaining
we're
nice
just
stories. Like
repeating.
Maitreya.
We're just repeating the Bhagavatam, that's all. But thank you for your comment. And you're absolutely right. These are amazing pastimes. And I'm very happy that you are paying such good attention, Rianch. So congratulations. You're a good lad, good boy. Huh? Nadi Ben?
Yes, it's a Hare Krishna. It's a wonderful thought that the father Vina, in spite of being such a horrible person, he got delivered by his son's action. So I think that is still possible in this world when they say that a children's karmas can deliver their parents.
Yeah, yeah.
Children's good deeds rather.
Children's bhakti.
Bhakti on.
Bhakti. The good deeds will help the children. But when the bhakti is performed, that can transform the whole dynasty, generation and generation. Like Prahlad Maharaj was told by Nrsingadev, because Prahlad Maharaj asked Lord Nrsingadev, please, you've killed my father, protect him. Right? This is a really contradictory statement. You've killed my father, now protect him. How's that work? So Nrsingadev said, you don't have to worry about your father. 21 generations of your family are already liberated. You are a devotee of mine. So that's what counts.
That's backwards and forwards.
Backwards and forwards, yeah. So you're right, Mataji. It's very gratifying that even someone like King Vena, who was really terrible, has become liberated thanks to the actions of his son.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so let's move on. 23, 22, sorry. Oh yeah. So this is, we're going to try this in the Brahma Samhita tune and let's see if it works. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya karma sayam gratitam udragatiyanti santa tadvam narikta matayo yatayo apiruda Shrota ganasta maranam bhajama vasudevam.
The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard not desires for fruitive activities because this is very difficult. The non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, all are trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva.
See, this is the problem. Overcoming hard-knotted desires, material desires. Very, very difficult to do that. And that's why it's saying the jnanis and the yogis, for them it's very hard to stop the waves of sense gratification. So that's why devotees, when they engage in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, they can easily overcome these hard-knotted desires. But I also thought the next verse is really, really important. So I've put it on. Let's just do this as well. Same. Gracho mahan iha bhavaran aparavesham sadvagana kramashukena titi shanti tattvam harer bhagavato bhajaniyamangrim Kruto dupam yashanam uttara tustaranam.
The ocean of nescience is very difficult to cross because it is infested with many dangerous sharks. Although those who are non-devotees undergo severe austerities and penances to cross that ocean, we recommend that you simply take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like boats for crossing the ocean. Although the ocean is difficult to cross, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, you will overcome all dangers.
Very nice. So this world is a terrible ocean of naissance, loads of sharks. These sharks are lust, anger, greed, temptations, so many things. But even some people can do severe austerities and penances to cross the ocean, but very hard. For us, we simply take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, or the lotus feet of the devotees. They're just like boats for crossing the ocean. So we're very, very fortunate to have this boat of bhakti. Okay, chapter 22 is Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the 4 Kumaras. And I liked Rianchi's comment that these are nice pastimes. It's good to have that appreciation. And actually, he's a good example. And somewhere it says in the next chapter or two that one who's very greedy to hear these pastimes, for him, this process of bhakti becomes very easy, So I like to actually congratulate that boy. Prithu worships the 4 Kumaras. So the 4 Kumaras, we know them, right? Because who are they? Who's the father? Except Rianch. Don't answer, Rianch. Don't answer. We know you know. Who's the father of the 4 Kumaras?
Lord Brahma.
And you, Indulekha, you can't answer either.
Okay, I will not now. Sorry.
That's right. That's okay. Okay, second question. Who is the father of Lord Shiva?
Brahma.
Now, Rianch, no, you cannot answer anymore. Who's older, 4 Kumaras or Shiva?
4 Kumaras.
4 Kumaras, they are short.
Okay. Yeah, good. Well done.
I told after, not before.
The 4 Kumaras recognized by Prithu as they arrived to see him. He was anxious to receive them nicely, offering them seats on the throne, washing their feet and accepting their foot wash water on his head. Prithu showed how to receive a saint. So this is a fantastic example. Somebody comes to your home who's a devotee, saintly. You can try this. Of course, most devotees will say, no, no, no. But this is the kindness of the devotee. Our Guru Maharaj used to usually say no, but sometimes he would allow his feet to be washed. And then we would take this water on our heads and drink it as well. So this is a very nice way to receive. You give them water, so you wash their feet, give them water in a seat, isn't it? That's the minimum. So very, very nice. Prithu inquired from the 4 Kumaras. Prithu acknowledged that it is rare to see such great souls who, if pleased, can bestow any benediction and more so, the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one receives such exalted personalities, his own home becomes glorified. So whenever we have an opportunity to receive devotees in our home, it's actually a fantastic thing to do. And unfortunately, unfortunate are those householders who, even if rich, do not allow Vaishnavas into their homes. And especially we see that during the time of book distribution. I remember many occasions when people wouldn't open the doors or the gates to their homes. Their houses are like trees in which all venomous serpents live. Prithu asked the 4 Kumaras about these people and himself, actually. If persons are entangled in matter, material world, Maya, how can they be blessed with any good fortune? It's a very nice question. So this is the attentive nature of Prithu Maharaj. He's inquiring for the 4 Kumaras. They're just like babies, and yet Prithu Maharaj was giving them so much respect. Yeah, he doesn't dress like a king. That's a good point. That's a good point. And worship is going on. of this puja, the four Kumaras. So then, appreciating Prithu's words, Sanat Kumar replies that his questions are for the good of all humanity. Attachment to glorifying the Lord is difficult to achieve and is the goal of human life. This attachment can be increased by hearing and chanting about Krishna. So I think it's in these verses that it says about one should be very eager to hear about Krishna Katha. One should avoid bad association and facilitate glorifying the Lord. Sanat Kumar lists qualities that enhance spiritual advancement, especially rendering devotional service and hearing the pastimes and qualities of the Lord. List them. Oh yeah, I did actually. So these are the different things. Attachment to the Lord and detachment from the body can be developed by faith, inquiring about bhakti, putting it into practice in our life, worshipping the Lord, regularly hearing and chanting the Lord's glories, not associating with materialists or accepting their goals, being disgusted with the taste for sense enjoyment, being satisfied in the self, cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the Lord's qualities, being non-violent, following the footsteps of great acharyas, challenges. That's the problem with the old city, isn't it? Remembering and tasting the sweetness of the excellent pastimes of the Lord, practicing bhakti without material desires, not criticizing others or their methods of religion. So we may see others practice religion in a different way from what we do. Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say, I celebrate. When I go to a church, I celebrate. When I go to the mosque, I celebrate how somebody else is worshipping my Lord in such a nice way, which is pleasing the Lord. Very interesting. Simple and plain living, tolerating dualities, heat and cold, happiness, distress. Quite challenging, some of these, but certainly we can think about how we can incorporate some of these qualities so that we become more attached to the Lord and detached from the body. Sanat Kumar describes the liberated position of full attachment to the Lord, whereby one is fully aware of what the Lord desires him to do. He has no other interest, and the subtle mind is destroyed when one no longer sees the external sense objects for one's own pleasure. Internal disturbances don't affect that person, no lamentation, and obstacles in seeing Paramatma, which existed previously. So we see Paramatma as well. So these three things happen, our subtle mind gets destroyed. This is similar to the waking state in which one no longer sees the objects in a dream. And we always everybody goes through dreams when they're sleeping. When we wake up, we realize, oh, it's just a dream. So that's what happens. We wake up, to our real condition in this existence when we get rid of the mind. No longer affected by the mind. In ignorance, the soul is lost. Sense gratification destroys spiritual consciousness because it causes the soul to become forgetful of Krishna. That's the problem. When sense gratification takes over our life, we forget Krishna, and thus we're lost. Preferring other goals, such as making money, is the greatest obstacle in spiritual life. Avoiding hedoism. Hedoism is something like enjoyment, enjoying our senses. One must be serious about liberation and understand the temporary nature of material existence. It's hard to put into practice, but over time, over some consistent positive thinking, it's possible. And this is quite a nice chart. When we're thinking of sense gratification, mind becomes agitated, our power of discrimination becomes lost. The intelligence gets lost. And memory gets lost. Memory gets lost in the sense that we forget, actually, we're meant to serve Krishna, not our senses. And when that happens, our knowledge gets destroyed as well. So that's sense gratification causing the destruction of the self. And then sense gratification leading to lower life forms, to constant thinking of money and its use for sense enjoyment. It destroys the goals of our spiritual goals. It leads to the loss of knowledge and wisdom. And then we move into the entrance of immovable life forms is open. Oh, quite interesting. Surrendering to the Lord, the last aspect of chapter 22. Sanat Kumar explains how the Supreme Soul lives with every soul in a material body, yet is always transcendental. So he's describing the difference between super soul and the soul. Devotees surrender to him only, God, and thus overcome strong material desires that are otherwise insurmountable by others, like jnanis and yogis. So that's the verses that we were just doing, 39 and 40. The Lord's lotus feet are the boat for crossing the ocean of nascence. So that's not chapter 22. I forgot there's a little bit more. Prithu surrenders everything. Having heard Sanat Kumar's words, the king worships the Kumaras, saying that their presence has fulfilled a prophecy made by Lord Vishnu. Because Lord Vishnu said, you will be blessed by devotees' association. Prithu gave all his wealth in charity at the end of the horse sacrifice. So actually, he'd already given everything away. What remained was just some remnants of the devotees. Knowing that only by the grace of saintly persons he has any possessions at all, he offered the Kumaras everything he had, because he's the ruler of the world. But everything he had was simply remnants of the devotees anyway. He'd already given everything away. This is incredible personality. The Kumaras praised Prithu's character and then departed for Satyalok. It's the highest, topmost planet in this material world. Thereafter, Prithu perfectly carries out his royal duties in full dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unattached to material opulence. Pure devotees like Prithu, although beyond the execution of karma, he doesn't have to bother with anything. Karma, yeah, he's already in bhakti. Yet as householder, they sometimes engage in karma because of the following reasons. To teach people in general, karma is basically good karma, acting properly, to avoid lapses in the rules of varnashram, to avoid criticism of the path of bhakti. Because sometimes people can say, oh yes, you've taken to bhakti and now you don't want to know anything else, you don't want to know us, you don't want to, but actually bhaktas are very much concerned for everybody. That's why they go out on the streets and distribute books so that people get knowledge from these wonderful books written by Prabhupada, to protect the confidentiality of pure bhakti. So sometimes people won't understand bhakti, so you want to hide your own bhakti. And it said that if you display your bhakti, you lose it. So it's an interesting point. Prithu compared to demigods. Having accepted all the qualities of other planetary deities, Prithu pleased his citizens in all respects. He was as powerful and exacting as the sun god, as strong as Indra, as tolerant as the earth. His intelligence and education were exactly that of Yamaraj. He was wealthy like Kuber, and his glories were as sweet as Ram. So he was compared to the Devatas and Ramachandra as well. So that's the end of chapter 22. Any questions, any comments? Okay, we can move into chapter 23. Oh, Nani Ben, yes. Yes, go ahead, Nani Ben.
What I was going to say, yes, people in those, like King Prithu was one of the greatest rulers ruling the whole world. And in this age, with so much fighting and so many countries around us, you cannot imagine how one person can rule the whole world, and also similarity between Prithu and Kunti's name, Pritha.
But
And
true.
also the earth is called the Prithvi as well, isn't it?
Yes, yes, that's a good point.
I don't know what the
No,
similar.
I'm not sure if there's a connection, but yeah,
I
interesting.
don't think so.
You raised that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
Sanat Kumar's always sort of,
Yes, he's
I'm a
prompt.
little bit intrigued by them because they are sort of, they are more like not into bhakti as much as like into like Nadis. And is it true?
Initially, you're
Yogi.
right. Yes, initially you're absolutely right.
The bhakti in the end.
Yes, because if you remember when they went to see Lord Vishnu in Vaikuntha and Jay and Vijay stopped them,
Yes.
at that time they had the whiff of the tulsi leaf, which was on the lotus feet of of Lord Vishnu. And that smell converted them from Gyanis, as you said very rightly, to Bhaktas. That converted them. That changed them completely. So instead of now worshipping like the Brahman, the formless aspect of God, they became personalists, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But initially they were like Gyanis and
Yogis?
yogis. Yeah, that's right. But they changed completely after that one meeting. And Sanat Kumar is very famous. He's written many, many. In fact, we're referring to some of his books when we're looking at the Gayatri Mantra. So,
Okay.
yeah, very interesting. He's written some amazing things. It's called the Sanat Kumar Samhita.
Okay. Never heard about it.
Yeah, yes, interesting.
Very good. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Rianch, yes, good boy. Putting your hand up, nice.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you told about faith in this chapter. Can I tell a small story?
How small is it?
It is in 5 minutes only.
You can do it at the end, okay? Let me just get through this chapter.
Okay,
Because then,
Prabhuji.
thank you. Then we've got a little bit of, hopefully a little bit of time. Let me see if we can do it quickly. Te samdurapam kim tvanan
Martyanam Bhagavat Padam Uvilulayuso Yevai Naishkarmyam Sadayanti Uta.
You can
In
read.
this material world, every human being has a short span of life, but those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead, where they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons, there is nothing which is not available.
Good. That's the title. The number is wrong there. I'll have to correct that. But yes, that's a very nice verse, and we'll see the context of that. Maharaj Prithu going back home. This is the title of the chapter. When he grew old, he wound up his responsibilities. He handed over the kingdom to his sons, and he went to the forest. And the citizens were lamented in separation because he was such a great king and they loved him very much. And in the forest, he was engaged in increasing levels of austerity. With his wife, Archie also went there, according to the Varnapasta rules. And first he would only eat like trunks and roots and then fruits and then just have water. And then just finally, he simply was just breathing air. It's a little bit like Dhruv Maharaj, but not as intense as Dhruv's. His goal, why would you want to do that? His goal was to actually fully control his words, the senses, sexually impose, life airs, only for the satisfaction of Krishna. And he used to, in the summer, light fires and sit around the fire. In the winter, he would go underwater and remain there. This is to control his senses, his mind. He was doing this tapasya so that he can please the Lord. And then he would worship the Lord. Everything was Krishna. He lovingly worshiped. And he achieved perfection through worship. You know, we got these 9 devotional practices. Here, Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So Archanam is Prithu, worship of the Lord. He used to worship Krishna very, very beautifully, 24 hours a day, completely freed from false ego, fully realized that bhakti to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. Prithu realized Krishna is sitting in everybody's heart as Paramatma, and getting all instructions from him, he gave up all practices, other practices of yoga and gyan. So some of this is Astanga yoga, but actually he gave all of that up, engaged fully in bhakti. And then he leaves his body by yogic meditation. He raised his life hair from the anus up to the eyebrows and then to the Brahma Randra area. So those who are sinful, not Prithu, of course, those who are sinful, their life hair will generally be towards the lower part of their body, because generally it's all connected to sexual desires. But when the person is a little bit more elevated, then the soul will generally be residing towards the heart. And then when one takes up bhakti yoga practices, this life hair will move up to the eyebrows. And then when one has become more or less perfect, then the soul would be raised up to the platform of this Brahma Randra. And there's a soft part of the head, at the top of the head is a soft part. And the yogis, those who've mastered this, and one was Bhaktivinoda Thakur's grandfather, I believe, when they wanted to leave the body, they would burst out from this portion of the head. Their soul would be there and they would burst out. It's quite amazing. This is also known as the Kundalini yoga. We're not too interested in this because we're interested in bhakti yoga. But this is a form of yoga meditation as well. Then he merged his bodily elements with the totality of elements, merged his mind, senses, ego into the Mahatattva, then into the Prakriti, and then the material nature. By the power of Gyan and Vairagya, knowledge and detachment, and by the force of bhakti, he gave up his body, completely situated in Krishna consciousness. Quite a powerful process, something that we would struggle with in this day and age, but our aim is just bhakti. Archie follows her husband. Prithu's dedicated wife, Archie, had accompanied him to the forest. After his death, she lamented a while and then built a funeral pyre for him, and then entered the fire herself while meditating on the lotus feet of her husband. The demigods praised her and showered flowers upon her for this brave act. The demigoddesses, they praised Archie's chastity and piety. Those who perform bhakti go back to Godhead. For such persons, there is nothing which is not available. So that's the verse that we looked at the beginning. Archie finally reaches the topmost planet, which her husband had attained because of her chastity. Benedictions for the hearer. Maitreya says that anyone who recites Prithu's pastimes faithfully will go back to Godhead. Hearing Prithu's pastimes gives benefits according to one's situation in life. So a Brahmana, he'd become the most learned. A Kshatriya, he'd become a leader of the world. Vaishya, he would become the master of other Vaishyas and cows. This is if one wants these benefits. Right? Shudra would become the best devotee. But a pure devotee, he should also hear these pastimes to enrich one's devotion. Whoever reads, chants, describes the history of Maharaj Prithu activities will certainly get increasing faith and attraction for the lotus feet of the Lord. Prithu Maharaj ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki jai.
Jai.
Chapter 23. Thank you so much. Any questions or any comments?
Prabhuji.
Yes,
Hare
Nani.
Krishna, Prabhu.
And remember, you have to raise your hand, okay? Yes, Nariman.
Yes, when I was reading the last chapter, something is that there is a Pitru lok and there's also a Pati lok, but there's no Patni lok. comment. I thought I would just bring it just from everybody to laugh. Pati Lok, I was very surprised. Only Pati Lok is there.
Interesting.
Yeah, but what a great character, isn't it?
Sorry?
Prithvi Maharaj, such a
Amazing.
greatest character.
Yeah.
My admiration for him and what one can achieve by just reading his stories all the time. Anybody can get into what they want.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
touched my heart. Prithvi
Yeah.
Maharaj touched my heart. Mm.
Yeah. Yes, it's a fascinating pastimes and he's a fascinating personality. So
Yes.
very loving as well, loving to his citizens and
Yes. Yeah. Which
Brahmins
is
and
a rare quality nowadays with the politicians, isn't it? Or the rulers.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nandini. Yes, Riansh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, like Prithu took his soul to Brahm, like some Brahma Randra, like that.
Yes.
Sati Devi also took her soul.
Who?
When
Sati, she may have, but she just exploded from within, wasn't it?
Yeah. She created fire and then burnt herself.
But she may well have taken the soul up to that same area. Yeah. There's not enough detail in the Bhagavatam to tell us that. But very nice that you remember that and you're comparing the two. And you're a 7-year-old boy. So, sure, that's amazing. Well done. Very good. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Navi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to everyone. And nice to have Rian's today. Yesterday we missed him. I don't know where he was.
Network issues.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Otherwise he wouldn't miss out, wouldn't he? No, it's nice. We've got to hear his 5-minute story yet.
We will. Let's go through the lessons first and the instructions, and then we can hear his story. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Les, you got something to say now?
No, I was just going to say that, this Prithu Maharaj's pastimes cover all aspects of sort of material existence, in the sense that there is a recovery from what he inherited from King Vena's activities, and he wasn't a very good king. He had devastated everything. There was a lot of suffering, no food. Even Earth had decided not to give any resources. So it was a tough time, but then he established cities. We can see how from the very beginning, how cities got organized and Varnashram system got established a bit, and then all the different. But one point I just wanted to make was that when he had authority over all different Varnashram system, like the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and Brahmans, but he didn't have much authority over the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, which is an interesting point, because he allows the intellectual class, the Brahmins, he doesn't have too much authority, because they are the ones who then going to guide him and guide the citizens.
Yeah, that's right. Very good.
Yeah.
Good point. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can carry on with.
Yeah. So shall we do that? Indulekamaji, would you like to do the lessons and all that?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely fine.
I had to change my device because I couldn't get through to internet with the other one. Okay, if it's died in the middle, so please somebody else continue with
Okay.
Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Lesson from Canto 4. So whenever we make a promise, we must fulfill it, so that that peace and harmony can reign in our life, as it is a long-lasting value. Chapter 2, we must never judge a person by their appearance, as it may be misleading. We must always consider that there is a spirit soul inside the body. Chapter 3, when one becomes proud of their possession and position, they become blind spiritually and they cannot discriminate positively. Thus, they tend to offend others. Chapter 4, people who are envious and who offend devotees, taking them to be materialists, gradually but surely they fall down. Chapter 5, the Supreme Personality of Godhead never tolerates the insult of his devotees. He personally comes to punish a miscreant. Chapter 6, whenever we offend a person knowingly or unknowingly, we must seek forgiveness from them and try to render some service to them. Chapter 7, when we are punished by our elders or gurus, we must take it as a blessing in disguise because they are just trying to put us on the right path. Chapter 8, when someone is serious in the endeavor, the Lord definitely helps them to fulfill their mission. Chapter 9, since the Lord is the cause of liberation from birth and death, we should take complete shelter of his lotus feet. Okay, feet, if we desire liberation from this material world.
Yeah, good.
Chapter 10, whenever we are in distress, we need to chant the holy name more because the Lord's holy name is as powerful as the Lord himself. Chapter 11, forgiveness is taught here. Whenever something bad happens to us, we must not blame others. We should know that it has been predestined by our previous activities. Chapter 12, if ever we get an opportunity to choose between material and spiritual gains, we should opt for the spiritual one as it helps us toward liberation. Chapter 13, when one gets the knowledge that everything rests in the super soul who is present in everyone's heart, then one becomes equipoised. Chapter 14, one who lives life according to religious principles is sure to attain the heavenly planet where there are no miseries but only happiness. Chapter 15, one should not accept praise even if they are talented because they might become proud, which could be the cause of their downfall. Chapter 16, we should learn about tolerance from Mother Earth. Even though she is trampled upon by men and animals, she still produces foodstuff for all. Chapter 17, if someone doesn't fulfill their prescribed duties, they commit offenses. Thus, they are punishable by the nature's law. Chapter 18, to have proper subsistence in life, we need to have planned arrangements so that everyone is satisfied. Chapter 19, we should beware of all godless atheists who wear the garments of sannyasis to lead and cheat the innocent population. And chapter 20, when one has full control of the mind and senses, they are not disturbed by the temporary distress and happiness. Instead, they execute their prescribed duties sincerely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
One question here. And earlier on, we were discussing about who was born first, the Fokumaras or Lord Shiva, right? So is it that when after the Fokumaras appeared, that Brahma got very angry and then from his anger Rudra appeared? Is it the appearance of Lord Shiva, or is it when Lord Vishnu get in touch with his material world, then he transformed into Lord Shiva?
Of course, that's the ultimate when Shiva appears. But in this world, the pastime is the one where four Kumaras get, tell Brahma, we take Sanya.
Okay.
So they regard him as their brother, younger brother. And they're very passionate.
Yeah, because he came after.
Yeah,
and it's like in a different aspect of Lord Shiva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. No. So yes, Madhusudan Babu.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah? Okay. I'll go back to what I sent you. Yeah, I think, yeah. Read. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, the instructions, the main, chapter 21. Srila Prabhupada explains Prithu Maharaj's instruction regarding rendering devotional service. So when Prithu Maharaj is relating to his citizens, you know, when he comes back to the city and the city is so nicely decorated and everything, and then, so he's instructing Prithu Maharaj by the use of the word yatha adhikara, according to one's ability. So if one sincerely executes his occupational duty, that would be sufficient. So, you know, we know that according to, in Kali Yuga, there is no clear distinction of what is Brahman, Vaishya, Shudra, all that. It's a bit all confused, and nearly everyone is Shudra. If you're getting wages, if you're getting paid, then you're a Shudra, whether you're a president or whether you're a street cleaner. But then again, there are the Brahmins, they're the intellectual class, and then there are the warriors, the soldiers, and the policemen, and all that. So still there is element of varnashram system. So still have to do these occupational duties, which we're inclined to. Some people are inclined to go into teaching and do Brahminical activities, professors. Some are inclined to go towards the police force and fire service and things like that, you know. So some occupation duties should do it, that would be sufficient. But one doesn't need to become like Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or Indra, Lord Chaitanya or Ramanujacharya, whose capabilities are certainly far above ours. So we should do our best according to our own abilities, and that's what's emphasized, as confirmed by the Lord himself. Striyo, Vaishyas, Tata Sudras, the Yanti Paramagatim. So even in Bhagavad Gita, it says, you know, does not matter what one is, whether it's Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or a degraded woman. This Kali Yuga, you know, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, if one engages himself seriously in devotion service, working with body, mind, and intelligence, is sure to be successful in going back to Godhead. Back home. So that's what Prabhupada comments, you know, in the purport as well. Chapter 22, Sanat Kumar, in answering Prithu Maharaj, is what will benefit those suffering in this world? Prithu Maharaj is very concerned about the people who are going to suffer, the non-devotees and all that. But Sanat Kumar emphasizes detachment from bodily concept, attachment to the Lord's, which is like the path of the Bhakti Yoga. So that was emphasized. Srila Prabhupada, the purport also comments that desires from fruitive activities are strongly rooted. So, you know, even in Sanat Kumar's instructions, you know, when we have strong desires, they're very, very strongly, deeply rooted, but the trees of desire can be uprooted completely by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desire. She's not trying to buy yogis and jnanis, and they're all trying to gain control over their desires, or trying to, you know, gain voidism or deny the desires and things like that. Sometimes doesn't work. But if you gain superior desires, like we still want to eat, but we want to eat prasadam, that's a superior desire. We offer whatever it is to the Supreme Lord, that's prasad. So we're not denying the process of eating, we're enjoying the food, in fact. We enjoy it even better, actually. So one can give up inferior desires when engaged in superior desires. To try to stop desires is impossible. So that's what Prabhupada, you know, gives us more instructions. Chapter 23, the demigods' wives were praising Prithu Maharaj's wife, Archi, who said she actually surpassed them as well. They are in such a high position, and this is, you know, Prithvi Lok, you know, they would desire to be on the Prithvi Lok and go through a process like that. They had so much opulence, being the wives of demigods, and so they have to live for such a long time, you know, thousands of years, in fact. But, you know, Srila Prabhupada comments that the wives of the denizens of the higher planetary systems did not very much appreciate the results of karma, gyan, and yoga. And she served her husband in the mind, body, with her mind, speech, and body, just like Lakshmi would serve. So what Archie achieved as a result of her Prithu Maharaj's, being devotion service and serving him as well, is far greater than what the wives of demigods would achieve. So nice instructions and nice pastimes of Prithu Maharaj here. So wonderful, it's good, nicely narrated in these sessions. Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing instructions. Really good, really good. Thank you very much.
Okay, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
I like that point about the superior desires being outweighing the inferior desires. Thank you. Riyansh.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, so tell us your story.
Okay, Prabhuji. That one time Narad Muni was traveling to earth, and he is traveling in a forest, and in the forest he saw a Brahman taking bath in that river. When that Brahmana saw that Narad Muni offered the obeisances. So Pranam Narad Muni. So Pranam Narad Muni said. Then he asked one thing, can you do one favor to me? So Narad Muni said, yes, I can do you any favor. So I want to tell you that when I will go to spiritual world, he asked, okay, that proud Brahman told to Narad Muni that please tell this to Vishnu. So Narad Muni said that okay, I will inform to the Lord. Then he was going to meet the Lord, and suddenly he saw a cobbler sitting under a banyan tree. Then he saw Narad Muni and said, Pranam. So Narad Muni said, Pranam. Then this cobbler also asked that when I will go to spiritual world after this material world, I am suffering in this material world. That cobbler said, okay, I will inform this to Lord. So then he left the earth and gone to Vaikuntha. Then Lord Vishnu saw Narad Muni and said, Pranam Narad Muni, what favor do you want? Then Narad Muni said that I met a Brahmana and a cobbler, and they want to reach you after this material world. So Vishnu told that you met a Brahman and he will come after hundreds of thousands of janmas, means hundreds and thousands of births. He will come to me. Then he told to Narad Muni about the cobbler, that the cobbler will come to me after his death, means this life only he will come to me after that. So Narad Muni, when he is leaving, Lord Vishnu told to Narad Muni that if the Brahman asks, what is Lord doing? Then please tell that I am insulting an elephant with a needle So Narad Muni said, okay, I will go. And he gone to the Brahman and told that you will come after hundreds and thousands of years. So the Brahman was shocked that why I will come after the thousands of years. And he asked that what is Lord doing in his Vaikuntha. Then Narad Muni told that he is insulting a elephant with a needle. So the Brahman told, impossible. Lord can do never. So Narad Muni understood that this Brahman is very proud. So then he went to the cobbler. Then he said that after this life only you will meet the Lord in the spiritual world. So the cobbler asked, what is Lord doing in that spiritual world? So Narad Muni said he is insulting elephant with a needle. So the cobbler said, wonderful, wonderful. Then Narad Muni asked that, cobbler, do you think that I am telling truth? Then that cobbler said that, yes, Lord can do anything. For Lord, it is not very difficult to do a work. So Narad Muni understood that. That's why the Brahman, even doing puja to Lord, is very proud of his knowledge. So when he saw that cobbler, he think that this cobbler is having more faith than that Brahman. So that is my story, Prabhuji.
Very nicely said.
Moral is we have to be humble and we have to have a faith on God.
Good boy. Yes, very good.
Hare Krishna, Hare
That's a
Krishna,
what?
Riyam. Riyaj, can I ask you a question? Why did the cobbler accepted that the Lord was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle? Why did he accept that? What did he say to Narad Muni?
Good question.
Because he is thinking that nothing is impossible for that Lord to do any work. That's why he
Can you
has a
give an
faith.
example?
Yes.
What example did he give?
Yes. He gave an example. What was the example?
Means
Okay.
Prahlad Maharaj.
No,
He has more.
No, we are talking about the cobbler and the brahmana here. So I will tell you. You know, the cobbler said, when Narad Muni asked, do you believe that the Lord is threading an elephant through the eye of a needle? The cobbler said, yes, I believe, because look at this banyan tree. I'm sitting underneath it. It came out of a tiny seed, and look how big it is. If the Lord can produce a huge banyan tree like that from a tiny seed, obviously he can thread an elephant through the eye of a needle. Okay, very well done, Riyansh. Very good story. Keep it up, and please come up with more stories for us like that.
Okay, Mataji, I missed that point when I telling that story. I am remembering that point, but I missed that when I told the story.
Good.
Good.
You did well.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions?
I like it. Yes,
I had question. I asked already. Thank you. Very good.
Anybody else?
Any comments? Anything what you like and anything what you want to add more than this
Riyansh, you're very good.
Preacher.
I didn't know that. Today I knew how the Brahman and the how the story went. I never knew it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mataji.
Wonderful. Riyansh, very nice story. And anything is possible for the Lord. So that's what we learned today from you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, well done.
Really enjoyed the story.
Keep doing.
Really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to your next story now. Yash Prabhu ki jai.
Soon
Yeah.
he'll be taking
Okay,
over from
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thanks.
soon he'll be taking over Nadis.
We're training him up. So,
And Prabhuji, even the Brahman is doing puja to the Lord. He's very proud of his knowledge.
yeah.
That's why Lord Vishnu told that the Brahman will come after hundreds and thousands of years.
Yes, that's a good point. But it's not just that. Because if you remember what the Brahman said when Narad told him that he was threading an elephant through eye, the Brahman said, impossible. So actually, the Brahman had no faith. There was no shraddha. He was just doing the puja because his father told him to do the puja. But he didn't really believe
Didn't understand.
that Krishna is so powerful. No faith, no shraddha.
And Prabhuji, and even like cobblers, they are Shudras. That cobbler has faith in that God.
Yes, he had huge faith. Huge faith.
Even he's a Shudra, Prabhuji. Shudras have no faith in God.
No,
No.
actually, Shudras are very good.
Hmm.
It's better to
But
be.
some of them are bad.
No, some of the Brahmins are bad.
Kshatriyas are also bad. Like
No.
Duryodhan.
Yeah, but he was a
Duryodhana
Kshatriya.
Kshatriya.
Yeah, he was a crazy Kshatriya.
Then Vaishyas, Prabhuji,
But
they.
actually, Riyansh,
No,
we should
everyone
not
is good. Everyone is good.
should not generalize. Okay, everybody is on a different platform, different levels, and if you see somebody, you can't judge. Can you judge a book by its cover? No. The same,
No, Prabhuji, I
in the
don't know.
same way, you can't judge a person by looking at his dress or his.
Yes, Prabhuji. When Indulekha Mataji is explaining, I heard that point. We have to not judge a person.
Good.
Yeah, and it's very nice point. And that's why we read in the instruction there, that even whether it's Vaishya, Shudra, or anybody can actually, by the mercy, if there's a mercy and if you're in a good association, and also sometimes you could be, somebody could be, have, done lots and lots of lifetimes of bhakti before. You never know where they are in their position in this lifetime. Because there's one story about a boy, I can tell you someday, it could be a source, but it's a true story about a family that lived in Mathura. And this boy was about 15-year-old, and he was a Muslim boy. And he would go to his madrasa and learn the Quran and everything every day. And then he would go past from the school, he would go past this particular temple, and he would stand in front of the deities there. And one day he went and asked his mother, he said, "Why do we call the Hindus kafirs?" And his mother got angry. He said, "Don't you know why they're kafirs and they're non-believers?" No, that. But he had a strong desire. He every day would go past the temple and he would stand in front of Krishna and Radha, the deities, and he would just stand there and stare, and he got so attracted to them. He had tears in his eyes, and he would stare at them, and he had just fall in love with them, actually. And then when he went to his father and the mother, and he said, "Oh, this, you." When the mother told the father actually really beat him up badly. He said, "No, don't you go there. Don't you associate with the kafirs, and they're kafirs, and you should be Muslim." They beat him up. But then one day, when he was still doing that, his cousin reported back to his father that he's still going to that temple and he's associating with kafirs. And That's what they believed. So then he actually, one day he told his mother, when his father was coming to beat him up, he ran away and he said, look, don't worry about me because Lali is calling me and I have to go. That's all he said. He said, Lali ji is calling me and I'm going to go. So he left and then he just ran away. But then later on, one Bengali Baba, found him in Vrindavan by Kashigat, and he was so engrossed in Krishna Bhakti. Anyway, his name was Dadar Rahim, a Muslim boy, not so long ago. So, sometimes he might have had a lifetime of bhakti, and in this life he might be so opportunity to have more advancement in his bhakti. And also he had a really bad association. He was amongst the Muslims. He was being trained to read the Quran only, not to believe in kafirs, but still, despite that, he had this attraction for Krishna. And so sometimes it can happen, whether it's a Sudra or coming from any kind of background like a Muslim family. Even we know the story of Haridas Thakur, who was a Muslim, because by Lord Chaitanya's mercy he chanted, but he went through a lot of difficulties. So anyway, sorry, Ravi, I went into another story there.
No, that's okay. That's good. Okay, let's go to the Nishinga Kavach.
Excuse me.